everything that exists, at least in the known universe that we know of, is made up of the 5 elements. That is earth, air, fire, water, and ether, or space. Human beings, we are also made up of these 5 elements. And we also have, well, if you're going to consider space and spirit or ether, and so 6. And then if you consider that we each are having an intention because of which we continue to be alive. So if we say 5 elements, earth, water, fire, space, air, ether as a 6th, and intention as a 7th. You can say, if you consider that each of us who are alive is made up of these 7, and when there's an imbalance between all of these, any or all of these 7, there's an imbalance in how, there's an imbalance in our constitution, there's an imbalance in how we function, how we move through life. Recently, I saw a video, like a few minutes back, that said that they were digging for water less than 1,000 feet. At 1,200 feet, they got lava spurting from the earth's surface. Now, I don't know how frequent this is. This has something like this happens, but I'm referring to now. We've all heard about global warming and all of those things. Now, I'm not discounting for any of this, but as bizarre as this may seem, I'm also noticing that there is a difference in how people are, how our movement of life has been since very old times, since the history of mankind to today. Now, to whatever effect what I have to say may be, whatever benefit may come from this, I think it is important to say this to perhaps affect an effect, to bring to attention to anybody, somebody who may be able to think along these lines in a more decided way. And what I mean here is, I'm bringing attention to something which has been very vaguely kind of given reference to in our poetries and in different kinds of stories, and I'm referring to the idea of an unseen ocean, an ocean of consciousness that it's been called as. And what I mean is, now we all life, we know from science, from different streams of thinking, that life first emerged from a very primitive ocean, and from there they became from unicellular to multicellular to reptilians, and then amphibians, and then they came onto Earth, and then from there vertebrates came, and from there human beings. That's one of the stories of evolution. And now that we are here, there is, just like there is a primitive ocean from where life emerged, even on Earth, even on land, because Earth is an alive planet, there is water on it, and vapor is also a form of water. Now, I'm also referring to an idea which is not, well, it's not like a vapor form of water, but I'm referring to an ocean which is which may not have direct reference to the idea of water as vapor, and that we are breathing in it, we are moving about in it, and hence there's an ocean of vapor. Well, you could derive from there, but I'm referring to, well, there are, in Buddhist schools, they call it as mind as water. what it means is it's a fluid state. It's a fluid state of you can call it as a form of intelligence. But when we use the word intelligence, it becomes more intellectual. But and that is not what I'm referring to here. Well, we can derive from that arrive at this idea from an intellectual point of view. But I'm referring to what has been popularly called as the ocean of consciousness. Now, it may be very easy to just pass off this video as another talk about it, but it's an appeal along the lines of there being the 5 elements. Yeah. Now, there is a fire that our nervous system has a sympathetic constitution. There is a certain theoriness with which when we speak, there's a certain, depending on the fire in us, there's a theoriness about our talk. Similarly, our tissues may be called as a form of earth, yeah, from our different experiences, from how we live life, from the food we eat, from the actions we take, how we maintain a body, we continue to maintain a tissue body. So we can call a tissue body as form of earth, which comes about as we maintain and we live through different things, how we form. A tissue is like earth. So there is fire, which is the fieriness of a nervous system, so to speak. And then there's earth, and then there is, well, all our tissues move about in a space. By the fact of our existence, by the fact that we have a body, the body exists in a space. By default, the tissues exist in a space. They occupy a space. So there is a space element. And then you can call the fluids that move through our body as the fluid element. And then you can say the breathing, the air that goes in and out of our body as the air element. Yeah, so that makes, and then there is a certain, when you call a person, yeah, now if you dissect a person, you will not be able to pull the person out from the body. Yeah, so to that extent, we are also spirit, to the extent that, the person can be said to be spiritual in the sense that when a person dies, the body remains, but there's something that animates a person, which is no longer animating. And so we could say it's a spirit which no longer animates. So we can call that as an ether element, for want of a better word, but I'm referring to an idea of what I mean by the spirit element. Now this is for the person. Now, when we look at it collectively, we are different people, each individual having these 5 elements. Okay, now coming back to the idea, now we have the tissue earth, we have the fieriness of the nervous system as fire, and then we have the fluids as water. We occupy a space, that's a space element. And then there is, we are breathing, so that makes air. And then there is that's 5. And then we have the spirit that makes us, which is not just the body, but then you can call it as a software, but all of this is the hardware. You can call something that animates us like the software, so that's going to be 6. And then there is an intention by which we move. Yeah, there's something that ticks us, that has us be moving and being amongst the living and doing things. There's an intention by which we come into existence. We are born and there's a heartbeat. So all of these kind of give reference to there being a default intention, because of which we continue. There's the thrivability of a person depends on how much of an intention of there's a will to continue to live. So there is that will may be called as an intention. Yeah, depending on how much of a will there is, there will be a degree of thrivability. Yeah, that will be 7. Now, every person is made up of different constitutions, and each person have these 7. Yeah. And as a collective, as a human species, as like if you say dogs as one group of living organisms, plants as different kind, and we have different kinds of animals, and then we have different kinds of plants, and if we call each, like say a rose plant as belonging to the species of rose plants, yeah, a bamboo tree, plant being a representative of this collective of plants that comes from the bamboo species. Yeah. Similarly, we have different kinds. We have the chicken. We have microbes. Different groups of living organisms. Now, each of these we're going to see us collectively to be made up of. Again, as a collectively, we have earth, water, fire, space, yeah, air, spirit, and intention, because of which we come to be, we function collectively. So in the human system, we have the government, we have the governance, and then we have the transportation system, and we have the healthcare system, and then we have the agriculture, the farmers, and we have mechanics, and all of these support each other in maintaining life. Yeah, but we are actually functioning. We are different factions of people doing different kinds of work, but together we support each other, so that we are functioning together as one species. Yeah, it's almost like one body of life as human beings. Like we have one body, we have different organs. We have the heart, we have the lungs, we have the intestines, and different parts. Similarly, as a collective, we have somebody looking after doing the governance of it, somebody taking care of the electrical part, somebody growing food, and somebody taking care of the transport. So as a collective, we are like one big body of human beings doing different functions depending on what our job is. Yeah. Now, why am I saying all of this? And in connection with the video that I saw recently about lava being very close to the surface, is to try and bring our attention to the ocean of consciousness from which all life emerges. Now, human beings visibly are the dominant species. Yeah, we occupy a large space, and when we talk about life, it's like the human beings, and then comes everybody else from the visible point of view. Now, I bring our attention to the idea of an ocean of consciousness as let's say it's an ocean which spans across the Earth's surface, which spans across the entire space that Earth is. And not just Earth, but beyond that too. But then for the purpose of reference, let's just stick with the space of the Earth. Yeah, because it's much more, we know that Earth is alive and we can connect with it. Collectively, are various kinds of imbalances between, when we say different groups of people, we see fights between religions, we see fights between different kinds of things. Yeah, in a body, when there is fighting happening, we call it inflammation, and we give ourselves antibiotics, yeah, to prevent us from having a disease. Now here, as a collective, we have different factions of people fighting over ideas and philosophies. It's like one big body of human beings. And what is going to be the antibiotic which is going to stop the inflammation? Because there's so much of hurt and different kinds of disturbances. And now, what's going to be the antibiotic, or what is going to be the anti-inflammatory, so that there's less of hurt? And when there is hurt, there's an imbalance between the fire, water, air, space, earth, yeah, and spirit, and our collective intention goes, well, we are so busy trying to prevent from being hurt and and to heal the wounds, and all our ideas is about protection and prevention there, and curing. And our intention as a collective may not be being as focused as where it needs to be. So we may be more in diverting our attention towards prevention and curing than about what could our collective purpose for being in existence be. Now, by bringing your attention to the idea of the ocean of consciousness, I'm attempting to bring us back into the idea of a collective field in which we all exist as one part of one living body. Now, why do I say this is when there's an imbalance, there are different kinds of affects that are seen. Yeah? The wars and all of these are signs of imbalances. And when we can begin to connect with a unifying field, say like the idea of an ocean of consciousness could be, of which we are all part of. And just like the primitive ocean from where all life came, we continue that the idea of ocean of consciousness brings us back to the idea that we are even though we move from the ocean, from the primitive ocean to land, even though we are on land, we are still in an ocean of consciousness of which we are all part of. We haven't just moved into land and then we are not just, hanging high and dry. But that we are still part of a bigger ocean of which is alive and still having us be amongst the living and giving us purpose and reason for existence. And in bringing our attention to this ocean of consciousness, I'm attempting to have us all think more along the lines of what may be the purpose for us human beings being in existence, to attempt to bring us back to the intention of why we may be amongst the living, as a species, as an individual, as a collective, as part of Earth. And we only know of Earth as a living planet. Why may we be amongst the living? Are we only to fight, have wars, and then strive for existence? Or is there something more to it? I'm bringing your attention to this here because there's another physiological benefit to this. The more we are less focused on our prevention and cure and our survival things, the more we bring our attention from there to a more collective, further intention-oriented way of being, we are less likely to be heavy in our worries and in our concerns, which is more fiery, which is more fire-like in content. And when there is more fire vis-a-vis, say, water or earth or air or space, then there's an imbalance. And when we can bring our attention more from a fiery kind of an existence to a more lighter way, which may be where there is more water, say the idea of an ocean of consciousness, there's likely to be lesser imbalance between the five elements as a earth as one body. Now, as bizarre as this idea may seem, I hope this makes some sense and has us thinking more in terms of that, a more larger sense of a balance that is required, which would also help us individuals when we think along these terms, but as a human race, as a living race, as a part of a living planet, when we think along these lines, I am thinking that, cosmologically, whatever this word means, whatever cosmologically means to you, we are seeing lava at quite the surface of the earth. And within our own individual constitution, there may be more fieriness because we are more concerned with, protecting and prevention, then I'm thinking that when we bring our attention more to a more lighter form of balance, say between the water and air and space, which the idea of the ocean of consciousness could bring, as a collective, we are likely to be less fiery. And I think cosmologically, whatever that word means to you, I think there's going to be Earth would also experience something of it. And I think we would collectively, when we go lighter, Earth as a planet would also go lighter, and there would be more balance. Now, as bizarre as this may seem, if anybody can think along, if there's more people thinking along the lines of the ocean of consciousness, I think we collectively, as an Earth, we may be saving our own lives, but it's more than that. We may be saving our planet. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you for listening. Do leave your comments. I would really love to hear from you. Thank you for listening.